Unemployment compensation, claims for unemployment compensation. Well, in most states, the rule is that if an employee engaged in willful misconduct, they don't get unemployment compensation. But what is willful misconduct? Well, that takes us to this week's case. Involves a real woman, Cynthia Boss. She was in Rhode Island working as a teacher. She'd been out for some period of time on a medical leave. Well, the school year was about to begin, and she came in for orientation so that she could begin a new school year. Her immediate supervisor said, we need to have medical authorization indicating that you're fit to go to work since you've been out on this long medical leave. So Cynthia got that. Doctor said, you're fit to go to work. Cynthia began working, and then the doctor said, no, your condition's gotten worse. You have to be out of there, and therefore I'm writing a medical report indicating that you should be excused from continued employment. She presented that to the school district. The school district said, well, in view of the long period of time you've been out already, we need to really talk to you about this. Well, Cynthia didn't come in. Well, the school district said, not only do we need to talk to you about this, we also need to have our doctor do an examination. Well, Cynthia didn't do anything about that. She didn't respond to any of that. Well, after a prolonged number of months, the school district finally said, you're out of here. You are out of here, Cynthia, because you have engaged in willful misconduct. Well, in Rhode Island, now again, the rules will change from state to state a little bit, but in Rhode Island, in order to show willful misconduct for the purpose of unemployment, it's necessary to show some kind of action, and the employer has the sole responsibility to do that. They have the burden of proof that show that there was misconduct. And generally, absence is not in and of itself going to be a basis for misconduct unless it's linked to something else. In this instance, they said she just was out way too long, even though we had repeatedly said you need to do something in order to basically advise us fully why you're out. Since she didn't do that, we found that she engaged in willful misconduct. Cynthia did not like that decision. She appealed the decision of the school board. She went to the Department of Labor at the state of Rhode Island. Department of Labor agreed with the school board and said, hey, it was willful misconduct, and Cynthia appealed into a trial court. And there the trial court looked at this, reviewed the various pieces of testimony and evidence, and came away saying, well, you know, it's pretty straightforward as I see this, by virtue of the fact that Cynthia, irrespective as to the request of her employer to come in and to take a medical exam, Cynthia presented evidence that she was unfit for work as a result of a medical condition. The school board never contested that, never contested. They never wrote her and said, Cynthia, we don't find that to be sufficient evidence. They didn't say that. They just said, we want to have you in here. We want to have you examined by our doctor. They never said, we don't find that medical excuse good enough. And in view of that, since the school accepted that medical excuse by not contesting it, they really never in any way considered her to be fully absent from work for any other reason. Since Cynthia, had a legitimate reason for being out, she did not engage in willful misconduct. The school did not establish that, and accordingly, I find that the school board erred when it denied her unemployment compensation, contending there was willful misconduct, because I find none, and accordingly the decision made by the school board is reversed. Okay, so what do we learn from this? What we learn from this is that sometimes what seems to be a relatively complex case is really pretty simple. And did somebody on one side or the other do what they were supposed to do? Here the school board did not do what it was supposed to do. It did not say to Cynthia, we do not accept your absence from work, we don't accept your doctor's excuse, and accordingly we're not going to consider you as properly out. They didn't do that. They didn't do that because they didn't do that. Well, Cynthia had a legitimate claim for unemployment compensation. We bring you this case as we bring cases every week so you understand how the law works. I'm David Allen.